If Elon Musk establishes a colony on Mars, it would be very easy for him to set up a dictatorship on Mars. If SpaceX ships full of SpaceX equipment land people on Mars, then logically, does that mean that everything on Mars is owned by SpaceX and that all the people on Mars are SpaceX employees? Then that sounds like effectively a dictatorship. It sounds like SpaceX owns absolutely everything on Mars. It sounds like a one-party authoritarian state. Obviously, I'm not just referring to Mars and Elon Musk. I'm referring to any planet we choose to land on and any single billionaire or government that chooses to land us on that planet. My point is, we know what an Amazon warehouse looks like on Earth, where the law is. Now I want you to imagine what said Amazon warehouse would look like 60 million miles away from any possible governing body or any other human being that could possibly help you. Because that's another thing we have to consider. SpaceX is an American company, so even on Mars it will be liable to American laws. But how are they going to enforce laws on him when he's just so far away? At its closest point, Earth is 7 to 9 months away from Mars, and that closest point happens once every 26 months. So you're going to wait 2 years and 2 months for that closest point to happen, hop on a spaceship, fly 9 months to Mars, and then wait 2 more years and fly back. And that sounds very impractical to me. The only way I can think to enforce laws on Mars is to seize the people's assets, like drain their entire bank account or fine them, because once again, it's not practical to arrest someone when they're years there and years back, potentially. Elon Musk does claim that he will set up a free market economy on Mars, but then I just have to wonder what other companies apart from SpaceX and Elon Musk-owned companies will be able to set up on Mars. And I also do have to wonder how equally balanced that free market economy will be. Like, will the entire system be rigged in favour of SpaceX? Once again, I'm not saying that Elon Musk won't keep to his word. It's perfectly possible that Elon Musk will allow multiple other companies to set up on Mars so we can create a fair playing field where all the capitalist corporations compete with each other on Mars. Because once again, he owns all the rockets to go to Mars. He'll decide what goes on Mars and what doesn't go on Mars. So it would be very easy for him to take absolute and complete control, and I don't think we have any leverage over him. And once again, I don't know if he'll choose to abuse the power that he has, but I don't think we have any way to guarantee that he won't. Now listen, I'm not the first person to address the question of what form of government or economy will exist on Mars. In fact, Elon Musk has been asked that question loads of times in interviews. If you ask him the question, what form of government will Mars have?
Thinking about life on Mars, again, how do you think about cultural unification, systems of government, rules of law, establishing those very early on?
Once we're there on Mars, what form of government, economic system, political system do you think would work best?
What kind of government do you envision for the first Martian colony?
He'll start by making a joke about how he wants to be like king, emperor, tyrant of Mars.
Well, I think I was just declared king of Mars a moment ago.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful
and what's your title?
Yeah, exactly. Emperor or God Emperor? I don't know. Might be too much, I don't know.
And then everyone in the room will laugh, and Elon Musk will explain what he actually wants.
I think most likely the form of government on Mars would be a direct democracy, not representative. So it would be people voting directly on issues.
Having direct democracy, like people vote directly on things as opposed to representative democracy.
The form of government on Mars would be somewhat of a direct democracy where you vote on issues, where people vote directly on issues instead of going through representative government.
So Elon Musk seems to want the people to directly vote on what the laws are rather than electing representatives to do it for them. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. You know, the people who actually live and work in the country should get to decide how to run the country. So yes, direct democracy is better, but I do have to wonder once again, can we trust Elon Musk to set up a direct democracy? What guarantee does he give us? And even if he does set up a direct democracy, you know, what's to stop him from rigging the system so that he's effectively in charge? There is a lot of historical precedent for this. For example, in 1905, revolution rocked Russia. The emperor, fearful of losing his position, set up a parliament, a democracy, for the Russian people to vote in. The idea of this was, hopefully if I give up some concessions, they won't fully overthrow me. And many celebrated this new democracy that Russia had. However, there was a few footnotes. This new parliament could veto the Tsar's laws, but the Tsar could also veto its laws. The Tsar could also dissolve the parliament whenever he liked and call new elections, essentially meaning that he could replace them if they ever vetoed too many of his laws. And the worst part of it all was that a landowner's vote was worth 15 times the vote of a peasant, and a peasant's vote was worth 3 times the vote of a worker. It's the same thing. The Tsar gave up some of his power, he established a democracy, and yes, while it was an improvement on what the people had had previously, the Tsar still managed to leave himself in effective control. So once again, could Elon Musk do a similar thing on Mars? Could he establish a direct democracy and not be in absolute control, but still find a way to put a bunch of footnotes on the end of that democracy, and then leave himself with quite a lot of power? Because in my opinion, it's almost inevitable. If Elon Musk and his company SpaceX own all the equipment and all the spaceships that go to Mars, and have an employment contract with pretty much every person on Mars almost, then it's effectively inevitable that they will be in absolute control, like it or not. Because they funded the entire colony, so they pay for something, so they own it. So now that we understand why I'm afraid of Elon Musk setting up a colony on Mars, and why I don't think we have any guarantee that he will in fact give up his power, we have to try and think of some form of solution. We need checks on his power and balances that Elon Musk couldn't undo even if he wanted to. And that's very difficult. My first idea was to make Elon Musk sign a long waiver before going to Mars, basically granting a bunch of checks on his power. For example, we can have a free and open communication between the people of Earth and the people of Mars that Elon Musk doesn't control. That way the people of Mars can quickly report any shady business that's going on. But once again, that's difficult, especially when we consider that Elon Musk will probably control all the communication equipment. See, that's one of the main things I was afraid of, okay? If Elon Musk does something terrible to someone on the space station, or God forbid, hurts them, then he could make it look like an accident. And the reason he could make it look like an accident is because he might control all the communications with Earth, and a lot of the communications around the space station. And if you literally can prevent any information of a terrible crime from getting back to Earth, then for me, there is really no limit to what horrible things you could cover up in there. That's why, if we are going to try and put checks on Elon Musk's power, probably the second thing on the list should be free and open communication that isn't controlled by him, which can be very difficult to do. And the first thing on the list that should be, not the second thing on the list, the first thing that should be on the list is that anybody who wants to leave Mars and go back to Earth can do so at the shortest notice possible if they want to, okay? Because once again, if Elon Musk owns all the spaceships, he could probably stop people from going back to Earth if he wanted to. Like, it would have to be in the contract that Elon Musk had to let them back to Earth when they wanted to at the shortest notice possible. But once again, he could make it very difficult to do that. Whenever you have to cancel your phone subscription or whatever, you call customer service and ask, hey, can I cancel my subscription? And then it takes hours to cancel the subscription. It is a whole bureaucratic nightmare, okay? And while cancelling your phone subscription isn't the same thing as going back to Earth, it is still perfectly possible that Elon Musk could make it a huge bureaucratic nightmare, very, very difficult to go back to Earth if you want to. He might say stuff like, oh no, well if you want to go back to Earth, you have to say so 10 months in advance, and you only said so 9.5 months in advance, so you have to stay on Earth for 3 more years until the next cycle runs around, you know? So that's why I thought it was very, very important that one of the key things on the list, the first thing on that list, the most important thing on the list, should be that people can go back to Mars as soon as possible if they want to, and as easily as possible. And I did wonder if we could have, like, some other humanitarian spaceship that isn't run by Musk, like run by the UN or something, or run by a charity or whatever, a spaceship parked right next to the Mars base. That way people can go back to Earth on that ship if they want to. But then I realised that isn't really practical. Realistically, all the spaceships on the base are going to be owned by Musk, and that is why I am so afraid of. But believe it or not, I actually did come up with a good way to enforce this treaty on Elon Musk if we make him sign it, okay? We have UN human rights observers stationed on the Mars base at all times, okay? That way they can report that Elon Musk is doing shady stuff, okay? And then, for every single human rights violation Elon Musk commits, that's $10 billion worth of his assets seized. For every, like, shady, not very nice, evil act that Elon Musk commits, we seize a bunch of his assets. Fine him money, like drain his bank account every time he does something evil. Of course, I am really just fantasizing here. The US government, and indeed quite a lot of other governments, fail to properly regulate companies on Earth within their own borders, so I'm not sure they're going to do much for a company that is literally has a base 60 million miles away. It's not going to happen. Like, I'm just trying to come up with a way to make sure that Elon Musk isn't in complete and total de facto control. And that's very difficult. But what could the people of Mars do? Could the people of Mars campaign against Musk with, like, revolutions and maybe overthrow him? Well, I initially planned to dedicate a solid 5-minute chunk of this video to debating whether or not the people of Mars could ever possibly overthrow Elon Musk, you know, in like a revolution. The plan was to talk about like whether or not Elon Musk could cut off their oxygen supply or cut off their food supply, and why the colony would have to be self-sustaining so that Elon Musk couldn't just cut off their food supply on Earth if he got overthrown on Mars. And then I was also going to use North Korea as a case study to decide, well, if the people of North Korea can't overthrow Kim Jong-un, why do we think the people of Mars can overthrow Musk? But then I started doing research for another video. I started doing research for a video about, well, protesting. History tells us that peaceful protest is actually the most effective form of campaigning. And then I realised that the people of Mars could quite easily probably do a general strike against Elon Musk. I'm serious, everyone there will probably be a SpaceX employee, so if a lot of them or most of them went on strike, you know, they could probably force Elon Musk to the negotiating table. That is assuming that Elon Musk doesn't cut off their oxygen supply and their food supply, that is. So in my opinion, the best strategy is to, unionise, okay? So if anybody's watching this video who thinks they're going to go to Mars one day, you know, follow Elon Musk to Mars, I do recommend that once you get to Mars, you should start trying to unionise. Actually, no, I recommend that you don't go to Mars because there's absolutely no reason we want to go to Mars. The only potential reason we might want to go is to mine the resources there, you know, and then sell the minerals for profit or use them on Earth. And to that I say, we don't need humans there. It would be far, far cheaper to just send robots there. There's no reason that we would ever want to send a human to Mars. But if you are going to go to Mars, make sure that you unionise first. I'd say that's my best piece of advice that I have for you. TLDR, I'm very optimistic about the future of planet Earth, but I'm not optimistic about the future of Mars or anybody who decides to go to Mars. Still, if you do go to Mars, then I wish you only the best. I hope that everything goes well for you when you arrive on Mars, and I hope that Elon Musk treats you fairly and that you have good working conditions and nothing but a happy life on this new planet that you choose to colonise. That's what I hope happens, it's just not what I think is going to happen. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, bye.